Hello and welcome to the Contractor Grow Show. My name is Mark, and today I'm really excited to speak with Adam Aberle over here in Carolina Beach, North Carolina at Aberle Construction. Adam, thanks so much for being with us today.
Hey, Mark, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. So you guys are doing just a lot of really cool kind of high-end remodeling. You guys live on a barrier island, so there's some really kind of unique challenges there. You guys have also done just a ton of roofing with some great grants and things. Maybe you could just tell our audience a little bit about the company, kind of how you guys got to where you are and where you're at today.
Yeah, so I guess the long story is I went to school at East Carolina University, majored in construction management. Actually, while in college, I kind of did some things on my own, kind of worked for myself. I did actually stump grinding is what I did. And I used to work for homeowners, cutting grass for my neighbors. And then I had one guy that had a stump in his yard. I said, hey, what are you paying this guy to do that? And ended up renting the equipment, making enough money to buy the equipment. So I said, what can I do where I can work for myself? So that led me to changing my major, probably second year in school, to construction management at East Carolina University. So I made that switch. And when I got out of school, I said, I really liked working for the homeowner. So I kind of started I would call it at the time, a maintenance company, just kind of getting my feet wet. I saw the neighbor across the street. He seemed to do well. He was working for himself in construction. So I started there, and that obviously went through the recession, 06, 08, survived that. Thankfully, that was a long process, learned a lot through that as well. And really through that time period, what sustained us was the rental market. The rental market really took off, and we were already kind of in this maintenance rehab for a rental property. And so that kind of got us through that recessionary times. Through that time, I got my contractor's license. I would say probably around 2008, maybe. I don't remember the exact date, but got my GC license for doing both commercial and residential. And from there, things just kept growing. So that was kind of the gist of what got me into construction. So went from there, and I've just kind of been doing it ever since. Now we're at a point now where I don't really do as much of the work as I used to. Thankfully, I got the opportunity to do it. But now we're doing a lot of major remodels, major kitchens. We'll do a bathroom, a kitchen, a full house remodel, a lot of interior. We've done some exterior work as well. Like you talked about the roofing, NCJUA is offering a $10,000 grant to a homeowner that has insurance with them that is on a barrier island. You get that funding. You have to do a fortified roof, so there's a certain process that we have to go through.
So let me ask you this, Adam. You majored in construction in college.
Yes.
But they don't teach you how to do the amazing work that you guys have learned how to do.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how did you learn? I'm just kind of fascinated. I've done a lot of building construction myself. I never got to the levels that you're at. I worked mainly on crews and led some projects myself. But how did you learn to do such high-end work? Did you work under guys, or did you just kind of figure it out?
I really learned just in working with others. So I think that's one of the things I've learned is you bring guys on. When I first started out, I did a lot of my own painting, right? So we would paint the place. We would try to do our own flooring. You would try to do everything. And I realized, hey, this is better to bring in a specialized subcontractor that knows how to do the flooring than me trying to do it. Now, obviously, I've done it, so I have a good idea of how we want it done and the way it should be done. And that's really where the learning process came in. I learned a lot doing a lot of the smaller jobs and learning the fine details of how a project comes together. Because if you can't foresee the end of the project, then you really have a hard time when you're beginning the project. Even on a bathroom model, making sure that the drywall is cut in the right place, so you're not patching more drywall than need be, and that the plumbing is done correctly. So when you come to put the vanity in or put the shower in, that everything flows nicely and it doesn't look like an afterthought. And I think that's the key.
Yeah, I see it. Gotcha. Interesting. So there's an interesting NCJUA grant where, you guys are on the barrier island. So I don't know if this is unique to the barrier islands, but is that unique to you guys' local area, that the grant for roofing of $10,000 for homeowners?
I think North Carolina is one of the first. So NCJUA is a North Carolina wind pool. Most people have NCJUA in North Carolina. It's like a nonprofit wind pool that people are part of. I know that they're offering some things in some other states, but I think North Carolina is one of the first ones to offer the $10,000 grant. They were offering 6 and then 8, but now it's moved up to 10,000, and they release a certain amount of money several times a year, and they kind of run through that money and kind of have kept it going for the last several years. There's a larger organization called IBS, which is a fortified group that approves the fortification. But yes.
Okay. And so you guys have found a niche within that where you guys are doing a ton of roofing jobs. What has it been like to sort of explore that niche or really get good at it? Are you guys, as a contractor, do you have to deal with some kind of bureaucratic stuff? You said you have to take a couple hundred photos. What's it like to kind of work with the government? What's it like getting paid? Do they pay you on time, or do they want net 90 or 180 day terms?
So the way it works is they also pay an evaluator. I think their average fee is $600, $700 on top of the $10,000 grant. So there's an evaluator that gets paid. Me, the roofer, works with the evaluator. We use an app called Company Cam, and they have a list of pictures that we need to take. And we put those pictures in Company Cam so the evaluator is able to see that we have the right pictures. We have to use the right roofing materials. We've done 20 or plus of these now. So once you've done it for a couple of them, they're kind of all the same process that you go through. And I tell the homeowner, I say, look, this is the way it works. I'll do the roofs. You pay me anything over 10 grand. Once you get the $10,000 check and it's been certified, fortified, then you give us that check. So there's no pressure. A lot of people have a hard time trusting roofing contractors. So that's the way we have handled it. That way they don't have to worry about being out of pocket, out of money, or somebody walking away from the job. We haven't had any issues. It depends on how quickly the evaluator submits the photos. So I'm using evaluator now differently than I was originally using, who was really getting the photos in there right away. So I would say it's, maybe 3 weeks.
Okay, great. And then, Adam, we've seen a slowdown in the trades. I mean, we talk with podcast guys, we talk with clients, talk with people every day about the state of the contracting industry. Have you seen things starting to slow down some?
Not at all. Honestly, I think maybe in my industry, being in the higher end remodel and the market of not a lot of guys and a lot of subcontractors, which we're not in, are doing new construction, building spec houses, or building houses that are needing to sell. And that's more related to the market of home building and home sales. Whereas in my industry, people are in their homes. They know that they're going to be staying in their homes probably more so now. So they're remodeling the homes that they're already in. The stock market is up. It's almost like you can feel it. When the stock market's up, people are cutting checks. When the stock market goes down, everybody gets a little nervous. So that could change in the future. I don't know what the future holds. I went through the last recession, as I talked about a little bit. So I always have a, underlying fear of, oh man, this could crash again, but it hasn't. So, you can't worry about that, I guess.
Yeah, sure. For that reason, we have seen that as well, that people focus on the kind of the higher end of the market. There's less sensitivity to whatever fluctuating interest rates and these kinds of things. Yeah. I mean, do you think for that reason that it's, we're Contractor Grow Show, we're always talking about, kind of areas to kind of pivot to and to help contractors thrive. I mean, would you say that strategy of doing kind of these higher end remodels it sounds like it's been a great strategy for you guys? I mean, maybe a little bit more recession proof. I mean, do you think that's a good area for folks to kind of focus on? Is that kind of a higher end of the market so that they, maybe you're not quite as sensitive to that, there's fluctuations?
I would say so. I think the kitchen remodel industry is doing well. A lot of people are aging in place. So a lot of pulling the tubs out, making them into a walk-in shower, grab bars, ADA, things of that nature. So we see a lot of that for sure. And I think people a lot of the homes are at the age now when, they were probably built in the 90s and they're ready for an update. So there's a market there for it. Yeah, that market is strong. Yeah, I would say yes.
Yeah, interesting. Is there a strategy that you have for focusing on some of these higher end projects? I mean, do you ever turn down lower end projects? I mean, how do you kind of go about that? And what's the conversation like when you're dealing with folks that have got nicer houses, nicer properties, folks that have got, maybe they're retirees or folks that have done really well for themselves? What's the whole conversation like? And is there ways you kind of focus on those types of jobs?
One of the key areas that we've gotten a lot of work, I don't know, maybe in the last year or two, is through designers who maybe already have a well-known name for themselves. They want to work with a quality contractor where it's not going to be stressful for them. So that's a large resource of work. A lot of our word of mouth people that have passed their name along, that's a large stream of clients for us as well. I think the key is communication. I mean, and just being honest with people from the get-go and trying to, paint the picture of, hey, this is how it's going to go and this is how it's going to look, putting a schedule together, having good relationships with your subcontractors. You don't want to go in there and demo a job and then be waiting a week for your plumber. So, my subs typically come when I call them and when I need them, because they know that it's going to be ready for them when they show up. They know that I've made it ready for them and that they're not going to have any issues getting paid, or, we pay them fairly. Our subs are paid fairly. A lot of contractors maybe don't charge enough or come into a job and underbid it. And then they're always trying to catch up. And then it just ends up being a nightmare. My best customers are ones who have had a prior contractor that maybe didn't follow through with what he said he was going to do. And so that makes it easy for me, I guess. So, yeah.
Interesting. So regarding team, do you have a kind of a full-time crew at all yourself, or do you work all with the subs?
I'm all subs. I mean, I have somebody that does my office administrative work. I have a couple guys that work for me pretty much regularly. Yeah. But they're subcontracted. So I use them as needed, but they, when we're real busy, I bring them in, and then sometimes they can go find their own work as well. I felt like that's the best relationship for me. That way they can kind of do their own thing when they need to do. And then, say, hey, I got this job over here. They're ready to come do it.
Sure. Interesting. And then regarding kind of team, something that we've seen is that a lot of contractors are sort of struggling these days with kind of hiring and kind of retaining team. I mean, it sounds like you've got a crew that you've had for a nice long time, and even folks that work for you more kind of in the office or sort of more locally, even those guys are contractors themselves. Regarding kind of finding and retaining team, any secrets there? I mean, folks are really struggling with that in the marketplace. Wages are up. How do you take care of your subs such that when you call your plumber, I mean, he's there and you're not waiting for a week for him to get in there?
How do I do that? I think just treating people as you would want to be treated. The jobs are hard sometimes, and I realize they're hard. And when he sends me a bill, I pay it. So,
pretty simple, huh?
I mean, that's just the bottom line. I'm not like beating them up and being like, hey, man, this is $50 more than I had budgeted or whatever may be the case. I try to look out for everybody's best interest. And, we keep it fair. I tell them just whatever's fair,
Sure.
And so, and it takes time to build those relationships. I have a great paint crew. I've had them for several years, and they pretty much do all my work. But I've gone through a lot of painters that weren't great. Everybody works a little differently, and you just learn how people work. And some people, you need to let them know way in advance. I got this one coming up. We're going to be ready. This is what's going to go on. Some people, they'll drop whatever they're doing and come do it for you. So just building those relationships over time. And most of my guys tell me they like working with me. So, that's key. I'm not easy to work for either. I mean, I expect perfection, and I know it's not always attainable. Yeah. So I'm willing to pay for it as well. I don't know that we're maybe the cheapest contractor or most cost-effective contractor sometimes, but at the end of the day, that's what the homeowner wants. It doesn't matter what the job is. People want it done right, and when they don't want it done right and they want to try to find an easy way out, it just ends up costing them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, we really encourage folks to not be the lowest cost contractor. That job sucks.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there. I've done that. You kind of get stuck in that rhythm of, and when you have a lot of employees, I've found as well, sometimes you'll start running your price down in order to keep everyone busy. And that can obviously end up in the same kind of scenario. But yeah, I think, moving a project quickly along is what people want. Nobody wants to wait on anything these days.
Sure.
There's no patience. So.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, then, Adam, just last question regarding the future in the next couple of years for you. You guys have grown the business with word of mouth. You guys have got a great reputation in the marketplace. You're listed on some different, kind of platforms and things, and I've got great reviews. Do you guys advertise? Or are you looking to grow the business, 10, 20% a year, or are you guys kind of at a stable place? And if you are looking to grow, do you have kind of thoughts on what your plan is for that, and or kind of advice for other contractors that are in the marketplace, maybe some ideas, of how they may grow?
Yeah. So I put a billboard up last year for the roofing because it was on the way to the island. We've done that for the last 3 months. I think I got 3 months left, and I've got a couple jobs off of it. I've always relied on the word of mouth, and I agree that you need to have a marketing piece. I've done a little bit of marketing. I've kind of done the website, but I guess I used to maybe pride myself on the word of mouth, but I agree that moving forward with more marketing is always key.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Well, very cool. Well, Adam, I know you're very busy. I really appreciate you taking the time to jump on this interview today. If folks are in the Carolina Beach, if you're on the island there, do you just work on the island, or do you guys do any stuff on the mainland as well?
We're all through New Hanover County, some in Brunswick County. The island is relatively small. We do work here, but a lot of work in Wilmington too, and Wrightsville Beach and those areas.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, great. Well, if folks are in Wilmington or on Carolina Beach themselves, what are a couple of good ways to get in touch with you guys?
Through our website, aberleconstructionllc.com, or by phone, Google, all those good things.
So fantastic, Adam. Thank you so much for being on the show again. And we'd love to have you on the show in the future, hear how things are going. And I hope you have a great day and a great weekend coming up.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Okay, all right, bye-bye.
Bye.